So Jason did a little video the other day, shamed me really. So I thought I'm going to do a little something. So talking about British fighters abroad, the best performances. Now, off the top of my head, uh, certainly the most recent one, which was an incredible victory and performance, was Billy Joe Saunders against, never know how to pronounce his name, David Lamoire, I think it pronounced. He'd only lost to the elite. You like see Rubino and Golovkin, and to go over to Canada, I think it was, and an absolute blinding performance that really stays in my mind. Chris Eubank wasn't fantastic, but against Rocky Gianni, 1994. Now I think most people in the boxing world know you've got to go over to Germany and knock him out to get a draw. So Eubank went over and defended his WBO, which wasn't really that. It wasn't as thought of in the proper way as it is now. Over the years, Manny Pacquiao's held it, Vladimir Klitschko, but back then it was in its infancy. It'd only been going about 4 or 5 years. I know that a lot of the Americans didn't respect it, so to go over to Germany and pull off a performance like that, as Eubank did in those days, it was about getting the job done. But listen, he held his title for 5 years, and very impressive. And some of those people he fought were very dubious, shall we say. Some of them were just like, how did you get away with it? But he had a mandatory, then he had a voluntary, and that's the way it worked. But in my opinion, and this was in my lifetime, but it was a bit before. It was certainly before I became obsessed with boxing. Now, this is what I think most people will say: the greatest performance ever by any Brit abroad has to be Lloyd Honeyghan, the Ragamuffin Man. Now, he, to give you an example of how good he was, Donald, the Cobra Curry. So he was 25-0. Lloyd Honeyghan was 27-0. But Curry he'd mixed with better people. He'd beaten better people. He'd beat the likes of Colin Jones. He'd beat the likes of Marlon Starlin, is it? Milton McCrory. He was, if you could imagine, Mayweather. Yeah, I don't know. Terence Crawford's retired, but he was the number one fighter on the planet. And you could have got odds 6-1, I think. I think Mickey Duff had a fortune on him at 5.5 to 1, 11 to 2. And for a Brit to go over, and I think, listen, obviously Honeyghan done the job, but boxing's all about timing. And of course, Mickey Duff, he knew Honeyghan was struggling at the weight. That was the thing with Mickey Duff. You go and see someone in the pub and they'll say, right, I've got a horse on so-and-so. It's 6-1, but it's amazing on soft ground, and it's gonna. So his insight, he knew all everybody, Americans, the Cubans, the Mexicans, the Africans. He knew everybody, and that's why he was so good, and that's why he made a lot of money on the betting. And I think as I said, boxing's all about timing, and he knew Lloyd Honeyghan got Curry at the right time. But to go over there in America and the performance he was, that. To give you an example, Ricky Hatton was 3-1 to beat Mayweather. I think I got 3-1. And that's quite incredible, really, considering Ricky Hatton moved up a weight. Those who really knew boxing, all my mates were going, oh, Hatton's going to win. I had one guy who, thought he knew his stuff, and he was telling me Conor McGregor was going to beat him. And for those who knew the real art of how difficult it is to to move up half a stone and go to the other guy's country. As I said, I think I didn't back him, but I do remember reading, you could have got 3, maybe 3.5. But Donald Curry, you could have got 6-1. Sorry, on Hoonigan to beat Curry. And it was job. It was just mission impossible. And when he came back and he won, and he was just a young kid from Bermondsey, the world was at his feet. And you've probably got to say, you look at Hoonigan, his career going on, and obviously he did some amazing things. That was his finest hour. But he probably underachieved for what you thought he was going to do then. But just that's Brits. I mean, in my opinion, the greatest performance ever against someone from overseas was Joe Calzaghe against Jeff Lacey. But of course, that was in Britain. Calzaghe was a huge underdog. But as I said, it was in Britain, where your fighters like Nigel Benn was another one when he went over against Aram Barkley at middleweight and destroyed him. 1 round, 3 knockdowns. But those are. I do remember Gary Jacobs giving a very gallant performance against Pernell Whitaker. Mickey Duff didn't want him to take the fight, said to him, listen, there's other ways here. This guy was a superman. Quite possibly, in my opinion, maybe he would have beat Mayweather, certainly as a lightweight. And Gary Jacobs said, no, I want the fight. And I think he even put him down in the last round, but the referee didn't start. It was a good effort. I mean, I remember Kevin Lucien actually put Felix Trinidad on the floor. But certainly from Brits, Nigel Benn went over, knocked Barkley out. Eubank in Germany, David Lamar beating him. Billy Joe Saunders beating him. But I definitely defy anyone to tell me that there was a better performance on foreign soil than Lloyd Ragamuffin Hoonigan against Donald Cobra Curry. As I said, I think Mickey Duff's insight to how he'd been training, how he wasn't doing the weight was perfect. And obviously, Mickey Duff didn't like giving away, didn't like spending money. So for him to put a fortune on Hoonigan, to he knew his stuff. And it was the same when John H. Stracey beat Jose Napoles. It was at the right time. This absolute Cuban legend. How many fights? And that turned out to be the last fight. And again, that was Mickey Duff, just at the right time. I'm not going to name names, but I've spoken to. I'll put 50 in the book for the Mickey Duff one, but I think I spoke to 76 in total. So there was 26 I didn't use, and there was a lot of fighters there that were very bitter, that really badmouthed Duff. And in my opinion, and in a lot of other people's opinions as well, those fighters that, he only gave me this and he only did me that. Those became household names in the 70s. They wouldn't have became what they were without the cartel behind them. Of course, that's Mickey Duff, Jarvis Astaire, Terry Lawless and Mike Barrett. They had the monopoly in boxing. And that's why you've got to give Frank Warren some massive credit, because he beat the cartel. He really ended Mickey Duff's career. And there was one of him, and there was four of them. Obviously, age was against him, and that. And Warren was the younger lad coming up. But Frank Warren, he just wouldn't be. He started off in the late 70s. He was the second cousin to Lenny McLean, and he just wouldn't go away. And and there was a lot of skullduggery, a lot of games, a lot of Frank Warren would purposely try and wind Mickey Duff in the cartel up. And obviously Mickey Duff had the Royal Albert Hall was his. Jarvis Astaire was some kind of like the second manager in Wembley. And then obviously Mike Barrett at the Royal Albert Hall. Did I say that? Sorry. Yeah, they had They had, you know, so a lot of the times they would book events just to foil Frank Warren's plans, and it was a healthy rivalry. It was good. I would have loved to have been around in those days. I think British boxing's the golden era, if you like, was the late 70s to the early 80s. You know, bringing Marvin Hagler over to Wembley and all that Maurice Hope era, if you like, and Dennis Andrews and Charlie Magri. Yeah, you know, as I said, well before my time, but I do like watching the footage. But let us know your thoughts. Let us know your comments. In my opinion, I defy anybody to tell me there was a better performance abroad than when Lloyd Honeyghan beat Donald Cobra Curry. Let us know your thoughts. Let us know below. Jason, I will try and do more of these. I want to do a video. Obviously, this year, I've got Junior Witter's book out in the March. I've got Henry Wharton's book out in the November. I've got Junior Witter's documentary out in the December. We're going to start making that this summer. So I want to do a couple of little videos. For instance, I want to talk about who would have won Ricky Hatton, God rest him, and Junior Witter. Yeah, it should have happened, shouldn't it? It's quite upsetting when you sit and think about it. But yeah, I don't know. It's certainly one that will be spoken of forever. It really, in my opinion, and I did watch a documentary about a year ago, and Tyson Fury said, if I don't fight Anthony Joshua, this will be the biggest fight in British boxing to never happen since Witter Hatton. You know, I know Ricky gave up his British title rather than face him. And then he said, look, to quote Ricky, God rest him, he said, Junior Witter is the Steve Davis of boxing, and he's hardly Mr. Personality and all that, but he was the WBC world champion for nearly 2 years. Yeah, you know, so they were like in a time when Gavin Rees held the WBA, Ricky Hatton held the, I think it was the IBF, and Junior the WBC. And they never went off. So you obviously the 4 fighters in the 10 stone division, one was from Wales and 2 were from England, and I think actually there was talk of Ricky fighting Gavin Rees. So Junior tells me, but he just never would entertain it. But we go in depth with the book and the documentary. But yeah, let us know your thoughts below. Greatest fighter to ever perform abroad on foreign soil. Maybe I've forgotten some. Yeah, I'm sure there might be some in the recent years. I've stopped really watching boxing in the recent years, but Tyson Fury against Vladimir Klitschko in Germany. Yeah, it wasn't, the odds were nowhere near as wide as Honeyghan against Curry. I think you could have got, I think Fury was about 3-1. But of course, I'd never really been on that level, so quite surprised I actually forgot that. Incredible performance, and you know, to go to Germany alone. But obviously, the Klitschko brothers had dominated boxing for the past 10 years, and it is just quite incredible. But let us know your thoughts. Let us know your comments. Thanks for your time.